have people in there, the chat. So if you have any questions for us, just let us know, and we're gonna jump straight into this. So welcome to Geeks with Kids, the bi-weekly geeky podcast from a parenting point of view. I'm your host, Eric, and joining me this week is Shouse, Hawk, and Mr. Matt Moore. How's it going, guys?
Hey, how's it going?
Oh, same old. I feel like I'm not dressed appropriately. Shouse is like all decked out, and we're just like schlubbing it up.
We are ready to. You know what? I need any excuse to take out the Star Wars stuff out of my closet.
Why is it in your closet? It should always. I guess it's hung up. Right? That makes sense.
It's nicely pressed and ready to go.
You have children. Shouldn't all that clothing be on the floor and stuff? Good Lord.
Oh, it is.
Oh, the floor of your closet. Okay, fair.
Yes, it looks very messy back there.
Yeah. Oh my God. Yeah, I know. You have a nicely coif. That's not the right term, but your living room is nice.
He's organized. He's put together. He knew the event tonight and that. He went to his little back cave closet and that, and he got his uniform out. So I mean, kudos to him.
I know.
He's prepared.
Yeah. Unlike the host here. So, like we do every week, this week we're not gonna talk about the news because all we're going to talk about is Mando, and there's going to be so much news because Disney.
I think it'd be really funny if you got me all dressed up like this, and then you switched to Lord of the Rings or something.
We're talking Lord of the Rings. The 4K release just happened. No,
or Star Universe.
Wait, we're not talking about the KFC movie. Oh man.
Oh, I thought we were going to talk about that and what's good. So
are we
still doing what's good?
Yeah, we're going to still start off with the little segment we like to call What's Good? What are we liking this week? Let's start with Shouse because you're dressed the nicest. You get to go first.
Ready
what
for
are you
liking?
liking?
Town.
What are you yumming on? Yum.
I hate you.
You haven't been on in a while. I had started off.
It's been a month. I thought that would end.
You need a flashing graphic on the screen. Just
next
say
time.
yum.
Yum.
Yeah.
I think there's actually an emote in our Twitch that is the what's your yum. I think it's a poutine that I put.
Bless you. Fantastic. I don't hate you for that at all.
Shows. What do you like?
I've been playing a lot of Assassin's Creed Valhalla.
Yeah.
And I've been having a lot of fun with that.
Such a good game.
You know what? It's a little daunting too though. Especially with any of these last, this would be the third of these massive Assassin's Creed games.
Yeah. It's the last one of that too.
Oh my God. It's just okay, I think I know what I'm going to do, but I know it's probably going to take me 50 hours to get to where I want to be.
There's a point where I was looking at the map and I was like, oh, look at this red area over here. And then I looked at the levels surely you won't want me to play the game for 100 hours so I can get to this level, this area. Yes.
Absolutely,
yes,
they will. Don't call him Shirley.
I know. Oh, my goodness. Oh, man. So you're liking it? Are you pretty far in the game?
Yeah, I don't think I'm super far. I'm maybe about 12 hours in or something. Just taking it a little bit at a time, and at this rate, it'll take me until the end of time to finish it if I'm only 12 hours in.
You'll get to it at the end of 2021. And you'll find out how awesome the ending is for that game, and how that is actually the end of that trilogy. Ooh.
I am excited to work my way through it because I did beat most of the previous Assassin's Creed games.
I beat most of it. I got
my first platinum was on Assassin's Creed 2.
Yeah,
so that was something I was excited about.
That was a big game to get. There was a lot of collectibles.
Yeah.
I remember that being a long game.
What happened in that?
And I think the last big one that I beat Assassin's Creed wise was probably Syndicate, which I had a lot of fun with as well.
I like that one. The Batman game.
Yeah, both Odyssey and Origins. I feel like I have dozens and dozens of hours into, but then I just sort of gave up on. So I'm crossing my fingers that I can make my way through this one at least part of the way. So we'll see what happens, but I am definitely having fun with it.
In the Twitch chat, we have a hello from Real Dash Mars. Hello.
Oh, what's up, Dash? What's going on, bud?
Yeah. All right, who do we go to next? I feel like Matt might have a rant, maybe. So let's go to Hawk.
He looks like he's ready.
He's always looking like he's going to rant about something. Go, Hawk.
I'm a very pleasant person. I don't understand what the problem is.
That's cool.
All right, so this week I am yumming.
You son of a...
Come on, you knew it was coming.
Phrasing.
The phrase was right.
My choice for this episode is Brandon Cronenberg's Possessor movie. Unfortunately, nobody saw it this year.
No one has seen anything this year.
I know it exists, and I actually saw it while I was doing some emergency last-minute shopping earlier today, and I was very intrigued. I was like,
Is it out on DVD or Blu-ray?
It is
Came
now
out,
available
yeah.
on DVD, Blu-ray, everything on that. I was at Walmart last week and I saw it, and I was like,
Nice.
I'd heard, there's a lot of subtle buzz for it. They're calling it probably one of the best sci-fi horror movies in years.
Nice.
So I plunked down my cold hard cash. I picked it up, and wow, what an experience!
Nice.
Not for the faint of heart. And that this is Brandon Cronenberg, David's son.
Yeah, it's like if it's the Cronenberg lineage, it's not going to be an easy sit.
No. I mean, all praise to his dad and everything, and that was a huge legacy for to live up to, and that. And it's like, if you're going to jump into film like this, and that, you're not going to do Pride and Prejudice. So,
I mean, I would watch Cronenberg do Pride and Prejudice, but
That would be
like I would pay money to see that movie. I would pay money this year to see that movie.
I can't even fathom how that would look. I can't.
Wow.
See, the scary part is I started thinking about it. I instantly can, and it's horrifying, and I love it.
And Disney's going to announce it next week.
Because they own everything.
No, it's going to be on HBO Max.
Oh yeah, one or the other. Oh my goodness.
well, the closest he did get was that movie he did. We had Viggo Mortensen playing Sigmund Freud. I don't know if anybody saw it. I didn't even get the chance to see it.
I didn't, but just those are two names that I never thought would be in the same phrase with the word playing. I don't think Sigmund Freud when I think Vigo, but now I'm actually intrigued and I'm going to look that up because yikes.
I'll look up the title later on, but Keira Knightley plays his patient in that. Other than that, I'm not too sure.
Okay, no, yeah. I do think. Okay, now I actually do think I know which one you're talking about. I think.
Anyways,
well, we were talking about this movie last night, and I feel like, Hawk, you have an idea for a future episode?
Yeah, I thought we'd use this film as kind of a jumping in point for a Geeks with Kids retrospective on the works of David Cronenberg. It's more under our Geeks with Kids After Dark section than that, but I think
it's been a while since we've done an After Dark
podcast for us to do.
Yeah.
Are we all picking one? Oh, we'll talk about it when we
figure that out off camera.
I kind of feel like this is one of those lists I should go pick myself.
Do it, and then just pick like 4 or 5.
I'm gonna do. I think 4 should be enough.
3 or 5. We'll see.
Yeah, it's a lot of extensive career and like a lot to pick.
There's like you could do like a solid top 5 with Cronenberg and kind of hit like the gambit of his career.
Yeah. But I still think you could get a good representation from 4 movies. So,
yeah, absolutely.
Yeah. So, anyways, I got to talk about this movie, Possessor, and that.
Do it.
I feel like it's something nobody should really know a lot about when they're getting into it. Nice. It's sci-fi horror. Mostly follows along the kind of like his father's fascination with body horror, but definitely he's not trying to ape his dad. I think he's got a real original voice, and I'm looking forward to seeing anything he puts out in the future. And he has those same kind of instincts as his dad. He's unafraid to tackle like one of the big topics, sex, in the those same ways dad used to tackle it in his films. And in fact, he's found a way to kind of reflect the new age of internet pornography in his and that. So the kind of same.
So you're saying this isn't something I should watch with my kids?
Your kids should be in bed, safely tucked away in that behind locked doors. You should be behind a locked door watching this movie.
Megan's going to come down and see me watching this movie. She's going to just look at it and turn around and walk back up. Is that what's going to happen?
Yeah, exactly.
Like most of the movies I watch.
Given all that, it's still probably one of the best experiences I've had with film this year.
That's awesome. I'm glad.
Yeah, please. Yeah, everybody check it out.
Yeah, I'll definitely check it out. I think we'll probably do that at the end of January. I think we got to do like a end of 2020 episode at the beginning of January.
Yeah,
that's really just like a quick midweek little recap, right? There's not a heck of a lot to cover.
No. The highs and lows and lows and lows and lows.
The lows.
2020.
Your top 5 lows.
All right. Well, I'm gonna go next, unless you're not done, Hawk. You good?
I'm good.
All right, I'm going to talk about my yum. And obviously, like me and my Facebook crew of Christmas movie people, I've been watching a lot of Christmas movies. And one I really have to suggest, if you like Christmas and you like musicals and you like fun music and fun awesomeness, Jingle Jangle on Netflix is probably one of my favorite Christmas movies now. It just premiered maybe like a month ago. And it has like an incredible cast, like Forrest Whitaker's in it, and Keegan Michael Key is in it, and it's a musical. Who knew those two could sing? Not I.
I
could see
Keegan Michael Key. I did,
Yeah.
but that's because of something that I'm going to talk about.
But I knew that because of his show. I just assumed it wasn't real, but it was apparently. So, and he was in Prom, which was also quite.
Yep, that's
good.
what I was about to.
Oh, sorry.
You
Wanted
to rant. Just give me a minute.
Oh, you didn't like it? Okay. Anyway, we'll talk about it in there. And also, I've been watching some KFC movies called Recipe for Seduction, and it is the worst thing I've seen.
Oh, we're doing an episode on that.
Oh my god, we could do a whole episode on it.
I thought we were going to.
Yeah. Well,
A 3-hour deep dive.
of a 15-minute movie.
Yeah, the episode's going to be longer than the actual film.
Oh my god. Yeah, when I watched it, it just melted my brain. I just anyway.
If you ever need something to take you out of any kind of a holiday funk, that's the movie to do it.
Yes, I will agree with that.
This movie confuses me. Just a little I know about it, I can't decide if it's comedy or some sort of high irony or what.
Yes.
or a commercial.
Yes.
Oh, the chicken that just made me want to get more chicken. Anyway,
Yeah.
Jingle Jangle. Go check it on Netflix. It's a great movie. It's fun for the whole family. The music is infectious and well done, and just watch it. It's good. So Matt Moore, take us away.
Okay, which one would you like? Would you like the one on the Prom, or would you like the one on? Actually, it's really the Prom's the only one that I have a bit of a rant on. The other one's just a fun little ironic snippet that I'll put out.
Oh, I would love to, because I never saw the show or the musical of the Prom, and I watched the movie and I actually enjoyed it. Yeah, let me know about the Prom.
I didn't see the show proper.
Mm-hmm.
I
never heard the music. I had never heard anything.
That problem is I had listened to the music because I remember when it came out, there was a whole ton of buzz and people were falling all over themselves for this musical. And I'm like, okay, I'm intrigued. The concept sounded interesting and kind of whimsical, funny.
Oh, wait, for those that don't know, do you want to say what the concept is?
Trying to think of how to summarize it in a way that will not sound. It's a little trite. Group of Broadway performers want to reignite their careers, decide to focus on a cause they can rally behind, and that cause that they're rallying behind is this small town in like the middle of nowhere US that are having their first gay prom.
Well, they don't want to. They don't want the girl to go to prom, so they can't.
Yeah, they don't want her to. Yeah,
so they're like, let's not. That can't happen. Let's get publicity.
It's a whole thing. That's the rough concept, and it's a musical. So, it being 2020, this is the issue I had with it. Is that this sounds like a really great cause. It's something that's a little hard for me to wrap my brain around in 2020, because that seems, at least for me, being the most hated of demographics. Looking at the scenario, I'm like, I don't know if that's as big an issue now as it may have been even 5 years ago, but I don't know. Certainly not.
I'm going to go with yes, just based on how the States is.
Sure, but that's what I mean. Like from where I am as a Anglo-Saxon male over the age of 40 living in Canada, I don't identify with the struggle that exists in that personally. However, I'm always game for a madcap, wacky, romantic comedy, so I'll listen to it. The songs were okay, like just from the original Broadway. The songs were okay. Nothing is memorable in that show to me, really. Like there's no song that I could hum bars from right now. Is like, oh, I totally like this is the song that I remember. It just didn't register with me. They were okay. I was always maintaining that I really want to know what the story is, because I'm sure that these songs are poignant in relation to the story. And then I watched the movie. The biggest issue I had with the movie, the casting, I thought they had phenomenal names attached to this movie. I think it was great. They got so many big names.
Meryl Streep, Michael Keegan, Michael Key, James Corden, Andrew Reynolds, the Bullet, what's her name? From Hamilton.
Oh,
Ariana DeBose.
Yeah.
And I can't remember the new girl. I just don't.
Yeah.
Oh, and Nicole Kidman. My bad.
Yeah, Nicole Kidman. Yes. Phenomenal names attached to it. I think it's absolutely great. The biggest issue I had with this is that this was not a movie that I recall being slated for a cinematic release. I may be wrong, but I don't remember there being anything.
Straight to Netflix.
Straight to Netflix. Awesome. Netflix in the past has actually been able to take recordings of Broadway shows and just post them up there. They've done it with Shrek. They had Billy Elliot. They've done a few of those. For a show that had closed on Broadway very, very recently, personally, the least they could have done, get the cast to come over and do the show, regardless of the name power. Because again, if this is slated to be straight to Netflix, the name recognition in and of itself is relatively inconsequential. Because if you're trying to just pull eyes to it, just reading that cast list, if I read a movie, if I had never heard of this and I saw that cast list, I would go, what the hell is this movie about? Because those are names that you would never expect to see in a marquee together ever, really. Other than the fact that they have all been known to sing in movies before.
I don't know. James Corden, I kind of feel like he'd appear at your birthday party for the right price. So,
well, yeah. That's the quote of the day, too.
Yo. I'm going to clip that and put that as the clip for this episode. Yeah. I like James Corden.
I think they're all great performers, but again, it felt in a show about Broadway performers being inauthentic, it felt really, really inauthentic just watching that movie.
I could see that.
And it just the cast does a great job, but it's a show that, again, it might just be because I'm old and out of touch, and I'll be the first one to admit it. But it's a show that I always felt relied on the heart of the cast, like to have that heart come through. Did not get that watching that movie.
I liked the relationship between James Corden and that girl that I can't remember her name, the main girl. I thought that seemed genuine. I didn't mind the cast. I remember when they announced it 2 years ago because Ryan Murphy made a big to do about it. Like he had just finished promoting Hollywoodland. That's the thing he did? Hollywoodland.
I think so.
Yeah.
For
Netflix. Yeah. And he's like, I'm going to make a movie musical because I haven't done Glee in such a long time. And I'm going to bring all these big names in it. And I'm going to do this property that's very hot right now. So that's what I remember hearing from it.
Yeah. And again, it's there's nothing wrong with it. I was just underwhelmed is the best way I can say it. I was just kind of underwhelmed. But I had that same feeling about Into the Woods when I watched the Disney version of that. I was just underwhelmed watching it. I think it's just a matter of
his head in shame.
Into the Woods is one of my favorite shows. So seeing Disney butcher it, I wish they did a better job.
More than
I think that's
more than anything.
I really do think we are at the point right now where, and I'm still holding out hope. I'm looking forward to seeing In the Heights when they finally release it. I'm looking forward to seeing West Side Story when they finally release it. I think we are kind of at the point right now as a consumer society where you don't need to take a popular stage property and real world movie make it. You can give up. People are more than happy to actually watch, and you can get these actors on stage doing that show and film it all on a stage in a theater in a set, and just do that. Don't try to make it happen in a real world setting, because for some reason, every time they do that, something always goes weird with the movie and it falls flat. I've been every movie musical I've seen in the last almost decade at this point, almost 2 decades, have just felt inauthentic. Like they're trying to make it a big deal. Even Les Mis, and I loved Les Mis because I thought they did a great job with that. But you lose some of that magic that you get with a stage show when you suddenly put it in the streets of Paris and you can physically see all the stuff around. I'm like, it doesn't feel the same as a bunch of people on a blank stage.
I wonder if that's because we're theater kids.
Maybe.
Hawk?
But I mean,
you're not a theater person.
No.
Would you rather see a stage production versus a filmed version? Does it matter to you?
Given everything I've heard so far, it's you couldn't entice me to watch a film version of this, just by putting Meryl Streep into it.
Yeah.
And that.
I still liked it.
After what I watched at Hamilton and that, I think an original Broadway production with the original cast and that, shot, elegantly on high definition.
Yeah.
Would be a much better experience than that. And it's right now, just as a layman, I think it's probably an undertapped resource in that, so I don't know why Netflix isn't more over this.
Even better, Netflix, why don't you talk to the New York archives and get all those 5,000 professionally shot musicals that we can't see because they're sitting in that library just waiting for people to come in there and be like, I want to watch an archive.
Pre-produced media that's available currently, for a culture-starved audience right now.
Well, and that's the thing I've always said. I have no problem with the casting choices. The casting choices are always the casting choices, and they will be what they will be. But if you want to do a show like that, like a musical, where you want to bring, names in, that's fine. But you can still shoot it like a stage show. Because then the problem always becomes we can't have them do it live on stage because they can't sing it. Then you shouldn't have them singing it to begin with. Mm. Like the fact that they can go into a studio and you can master a studio track to make them sound that good means they shouldn't be playing that role. I mean, the thing that made me the happiest was when they announced the cast for In the Heights, starring Anthony fucking Ramos, who had done Hamilton. And he was the one driving that because people wanted to see him play that role.
And he also did it at the Lincoln Center for a while.
Absolutely. I would rather you get powerhouse performers. And if you're going to get these Broadway performers, get the one. It's a great showcase because they're doing a role that they're kind of iconically known for on a larger scale. And then they can sing and that they have the quality. Because I've always found getting Hollywood stars in, it might give you a good opening weekend when it comes to box office draw, but it's not going to make millions and millions of people go see a movie that they weren't already going to see anyways.
Bumps. I think for In the Heights, at least, they had Lin-Manuel backing Anthony Ramos. He had a really great performance in what was that movie with Lady Gaga and Bradley Cooper?
The Star is Born.
Star is Born. So he was also really good in that. So I think the studio really backed him. But no, I understand what you're saying, and I feel like for me, In the Heights is going to be the big thing for me next year when it comes out. Because if that doesn't produce, and that's mostly like stage artists in that movie. So I'm looking forward to that, and I can't wait. But let's move on. We're going to talk about The Mandalorian this episode. I know you're all surprised that it's not in the title or anything, but the show just ended on December 18th, 2020 with the 16th chapter. And the second season premiered on October 30th of this year. So we got our 8 episodes, and they were, personally for me, wonderful. So I'm gonna just do a quick rundown of the season, and then we're gonna talk about some highlights of the season, some lowlights of the season, and then we're gonna talk about that finale because there's a lot to unpack about it. And then we're gonna probably talk about the 52 things that Disney announced. No, not all 52, just all the Star Wars stuff. So the season starts off. The first season ended with the Mandalorian getting tasked to find the child's planet, his people. So this season we see the Mando going through hoops and loops and turns just to get him to his people. So he ends up going to Tatooine, fighting a crate dragon. He goes to this watery planet where he ends up meeting Bo-Katan, which is a character from Rebels and Clone Wars, which is very important to the Mandalorian history. He finds out that the creed that he has been brought up in is actually a really strict religious cult of the Mandalorians. We'll talk about that in a bit. She tasks him to find Ahsoka Tano, who is one of the last Jedi that she knows, to sort of reach out and maybe find someone to train the child. So he meets Ahsoka Tano on a planet. There's a giant Kurosawa-inspired episode, which I'm sure is one of our highlights. And she tells him that she can't train him because he is too old. He's 50. And we find out Grogu's actual name, which is Grogu. I don't know why I said that. That's the child.
He's right there.
She gets tasked to put Grogu on the Seeing Stone to reach out through the Force to find a teacher, and ends up getting taken by Dark Troopers. Moff Gideon has a battalion of them on his Star Cruiser. So Mando ends up teaming up with Boba Fett and Ferrick, who is an assassin that we saw last season that was dying, but is now saved. And they go off, and with the help of Bo-Katan, they take over Moff
Gideon.
Moff Gideon's Star Cruiser. and get the child back with the Mando taking the Darksaber through battle against Moff Gideon. As they're waiting there and after they defeated the Moff Gideon, they find out that a legion of Death Troopers are coming back on board. Dark Troopers are coming back on board, and a X-wing flies in. God, and you see this Jedi just tearing through all these Dark Troopers,
destroying them.
And when we get to we find out that that's Luke Skywalker, voiced by Mark Hamill, which is amazing. And he takes Grogu in a moment that I never thought I'd say, and that would be me hating Luke Skywalker for breaking up this family. And that's where the season ends. And there's a post-credits, which we'll talk about at the end of the episode. So, what were the highlights of this season for you guys? Just go. Anyone. What?
Yes.
All of it? Was there...
Where do you start? You know,
this for me, this is how any franchise does fan service properly. It's
not even just fan service; it's just doing a property the respect that it deserves, right?
It was, but there were enough things that I actually talked to Jen about this because she and I have been watching the series, but at alternating times because of work schedules and whatnot.
Same.
I'm passing this along from her. She's like, make sure you tell them this. Jen likes Star Wars, but she's not a Star Wars fanatic fan. But she doesn't know extensive lore. She knows the movies.
Yeah.
And her exact quote was, as someone that doesn't know shit about a lot of this, I was actually impressed because the important stuff was still important, even if I didn't know 10 years of lore behind it. Like, she knew who Ahsoka was without knowing who Ahsoka was. Like, she was like, this is an important person.
Yeah.
She got that Bo-Katan and the Darksaber were a huge deal, having never watched any of the animated stuff. Like, it was able to give you a story that wasn't so reliant on extended universe knowledge that it's not accessible to people that are just tuning into it.
Yeah.
That being said, those that do know the extended universe knowledge,
wow.
That's what I mean when I say this is fan service done right, where you can have all these amazing extended universe Easter eggs that aren't detrimental to the plot for the general public.
Mm-hmm.
Can I jump in here? I'm gonna jump down to the lowest of my highlights for the season on that, because this was an explosive season. It was just packed with characters, packed with those surprises that just delighted the Star Wars fans that have explored all the canon between the movies and that for years. But what I loved is that Mando himself, even surrounded by all these impressive characters and lore and that, they never sidelined his character in that.
Mm-hmm.
Every action sequence you saw him, every fight sequence you saw him in that, he's solely the hero in it. Even with the likes of Ahsoka Tano and that, it's like he is a character who has earned his place in Star Wars canon and that, because they did a fantastic job in making him the hero that he was meant to be.
Yeah. Agreed. I think for me, the only thing that really bothered me, I agree with everything you guys have said, but this season, at least when it started off, seemed like a giant continual fetch quest. Like, you're just like, go here, then go here, then go here, then go here. Mm-hmm. And that sort of bothered me, but not enough for me to be like, I hate this season, because I still think it's wonderful. And I see where each piece led to. Like, the first one led to Boba Fett's armor, which ended up being, how we got Boba Fett onto the show and being such an important part of the show. Or like, there's that spider episode that made it feel like you can actually have a scary Star Wars movie, but that led Mando to the water planet where he met Bo-Katan, right? So everything had its place, even if I didn't know it was going to those places at the time. That being said, me being a massive Star Wars fan, all around me, there were so many references that weren't just like in your face, but were like little tidbits, and they're like Cobb Vanth in the first episode was a minor character in one of the books like 5 years ago. So it's just seeing stuff like that makes me, being a Star Wars fan, be like, oh, that's awesome that you're actually making this world fit together. This is the sequel to the original trilogy that the sequel trilogy should have been. Like it,
Yes.
like it made me care about the characters. Like me and Hawk were talking about this, I think last night. It made me care about the characters. The characters they brought back had relevance and weren't just like sidelined and just like not like showpieces for us to see and be like, hey, this is the reason for you to come see this. They're like there for a reason, not just to randomly drink green milk and then die. I feel like the Luke Skywalker we saw in this season was where I expected him to be.
Yes.
It was Luke in his prime.
It was Luke in his prime.
This was the Jedi. This is the Jedi Master who is just becoming a master.
Mm-hmm.
But he still has all that idealism that he had at the end of Return of the Jedi, where he hasn't had the years of mistakes and missteps and failures that have ground him down into what we ultimately see in the last trilogy.
That being said, I do appreciate that Jon Favreau and Dave Filoni have made steps in this series that connect to the sequel trilogy, and it's actually important for the sequel trilogy. They talk about Operation Cinder, which was something like we had talked about because it was in like a prequel for Battlefront 1 or Battlefront 2. I can't even remember what it was.
From Battlefront,
so like, and those books as well that I read.
Yeah. I appreciated the fact that with the whole thing with I just need to study his blood.
Yeah.
Like it's that whole we've now basically, and I may be speculative, I don't
know. You're
care.
right.
I'm going to assume it. This is now the steps towards bringing Palpatine back.
Yeah. Well, we saw the clones, right? We saw the broken clones.
Yeah.
I assume that was like a Snoke version, like beta, like 00.17.
They've tried to do that before. Like I remember with, I think it was Attack of the Clones, where during the Battle of Geonosis, you actually get to see the Death Star plans very briefly. Yeah. And so Star Wars has tried that before, but I don't think they've ever done it quite as well as they did it with Mandalorian, like with these snippets for storylines are coming, and you're just not sure where they're going to come.
Well, and that's what kind of works, is because as much as this is, it's filling in the gaps between Jedi and Force Awakens, there's 20, 30 years between those timelines. So there's a lot of things that can happen where they can have these little eggs posted around, but it's not, they don't have to do the, like they can just have that there and it's there. And then if you look at the whole series of everything together, you're like, there's all the little pieces that then lead to this.
And that was one of my favorite parts about my sort of my viewing experience for this show, is that I would watch the episodes and then I would watch a few YouTube analysis videos that people would put out, going frame by frame, talking about every little detail that was not immediately thrown into the spotlight. Like there were actually some videos that I like to watch that would actually take the text, I forget what it's called, the language, Orbesh, and they would actually translate it all. And it was done so, the production design in the show was done so well that every single word that appears in the show can translate to something.
Nice.
Like everything down to the menu in the restaurant in the last episode of the season had all of these different food choices that were from various Star Wars parts of Star Wars lore.
And there was one that was vegetarian meat, I think was on the menu. That's hilarious. Sorry, go, Matt.
I was gonna say, just because Shouse actually kind of hit on this in a really, really cool way. The one thing that I absolutely loved, and I'm sure you're probably gonna talk about this later, was the callback to Episode 2, like Star Wars Episode 2, Attack of the Clones.
Which one?
With Boba repeating what Jango had said.
Oh, I'm just a simple man in the galaxy.
I'm just a man trying to make his way through the galaxy.
Yeah.
Adding on that, Bo-Katan talking to him in that finale and saying, "I've heard your voice hundreds of times. Shouldn't you say your sponsor?" I was like, "Your donor?" I was like, "Oh, damn, that's hard." Which makes me think that hopefully, when we see a further season I assume we're going to see more Bo-Katan. We definitely are going to see more Bo-Katan based on the finale, but I hope we get to see like the clone troopers that she worked with, like Captain Rex, because Tamara Morrison's the right age to play all these people now.
Yeah.
So, oh my God, this
but even then, all they need to do is they proved in that episode, and they've proved in Rogue One. If they have an imprint of him, they can have him show up a lot on screen, and he'll just be getting a hell of a lot of voice work.
Yeah. I'm trying to think of what else. Like, there's so much in this. Let's talk about Boba Fett, because he was a very important part of this series, and I don't think any of us really expected him to really show up after last season, because we had heard the spurs when Fennec was dying, and people were like, "Oh, that's Jake, that's Boba Fett's spurs," but part of me was like, "They're not going to actually do that." And then they showed him at the end of the first episode, and he's like, "Well, shit, he has a Jaffa stick."
Yeah. I give full respect to them for bringing the actor back. Like, and by said that, I mean bringing the actor back that was Jango Fett, who he was cloned from.
Yep.
Because it would make no sense if they didn't bring him back.
Yeah, that's right.
I give them full credit for doing that. They gave us the redemption story for a character that we never thought would get a redemption story.
Yeah.
And they gave us the action sequence. So, like, it's 30 years later. We got the hallway fight from Darth Vader in Rogue One. We get Boba Fett kicking ass on that plane without his armor and with his armor. And then we got Luke Skywalker, like, mowing down Dark Troopers. But like his dad in Rogue One.
That's what I loved, is the fact that they kind of had that fight sequence cinematically mirror what happened in Rogue One.
Yeah.
You're sitting there, you're watching him choke that Dark Trooper, like the last Dark Trooper, and you're like, he didn't need to do that, but he did it.
He pulls a Mace Windu with that, because he does the same thing that Mace did to Grievous. Crushes the chest plate. I'm like,
so good.
Like, again, it's like the amount of tie-ins and callbacks and the thought that has been put into every instance of reference in this series to something else. Like, it's never just thrown out there. It's there for a reason, and it's there for a specific reason.
Let's you know what? Let's just go straight into the finale, because I think that is pretty where we are headed towards. The episode right before it, the Believer, where the Mando sends pretty much the exact speech Gideon gave to him in the first season, word for word, back to him.
That was cool.
And then the next episode is just like action, action, action. We get to see Slave One kick ass, and it's a neat little way to get him to go off on his own adventure, which we'll talk.
Can I mention really quick? I think it was a previous. It wasn't the finale. It was like near the end. There when Boba Fett launches the seismic sonic charge.
Yeah.
Just like whoa.
As soon as he was raising up, and I saw those two fighters following him, was like, oh, please, I'm putting up my volume right now for this. And it happened.
So good. The sound is so satisfying.
Again, it's just one of those little moments where it's like Filoni just honors the whole sandbox, and that, you know.
Yeah.
Oh man.
Oh yeah.
What let's see. What's it? Oh, you know what? Before we go into the finale, there was an episode that was sort of self-contained, not really, but it was the jailbreak into that Imperial facility. There was a lot of talk this whole season about looking at things from a different point of view, the Imperial point of view, and how they see the Rebel Alliance, and how they were sort of being cheered as heroes at certain times through the season. Like we had those pirates trying to get Mando and that dude guy, like their cargo as they're going towards the Imperial, and we're like cheering for the TIE fighters to come and blow them up, but we see them get back there, and they're just normal people. And then we get to the first scene in the finale, and there's an Imperial pilot holding that doctor, and he's talking to Cara Dune, and he's talking about how the rebels had killed millions of people on those Death Stars, and how it was a small price to pay to see all of those. Alderaan blowing up was a small price to pay to see terrorists, get what they deserved. It's fascinating. What did you guys think of that?
I love this theme, and I love that they've explored it quite a bit throughout this series. Because we got so used to just seeing like these officers blindly follow orders and that, and click their heels in doing so, and that faceless stormtroopers, that were just basically these knockdown, punching bags for the entire series. And that this season has really explored, like, not only seeing it from their perspective and that, but also it goes right into the fanaticism of some of the higher ups and that, like a whole speech that he made in the Imperial base in that episode or chapter, the 7th episode,
the
that
15,
officer.
the believer.
Yeah, the believer. Like,
Mayfield is talking to his old commanding officer about Operation Cinder.
And he's one of those guys who believes in the cause of the Empire. The tyranny, he recognizes it, and that the need for order, and that it's a religion to these guys, to the higher ups.
I thought Bill Burr did an incredible job in that episode.
He was great. He's really grown, not just as a comedian and that, and like, with like all his specials, his Netflix cartoon series and that. He's really kind of expanding his range in acting too.
Yeah, and apparently he likes Star Wars now.
Who knew?
I love he trashed Star Wars in the interviews all his career.
Yeah. His character is also a great example of someone like we expected him to be such a generic bad guy from last season, and to see all those layers and where he came from, it's so good. Like, this show gives you so much characterization in people that you wouldn't expect. It's wonderful.
Oh yeah, no. Well, it's done a great job of humanizing both sides of the fight, and that's what makes it so compelling, is that you're not just getting stock characters. You're not getting, these are the good guys and we're going to go in depth in them, and then the bad guys are bad. Like, they actually give you reasoning and logic and development of character to have you at least understand why they're doing, even if you don't believe in it, you can understand why they think what they're doing is right.
I also say another angle is that, like, once again, like the series, remember the Frog Lady episode and that, it does something Star Wars, like only Star Wars has done, in my experience in sci-fi, and that it was the first series to really humanize like non-human entities, like the R2D2, C3PO, and that we didn't just see them as just these stock kind of robots, that followed around their masters, and that he really he does a great job in humanizing the non-human.
That was an episode by Peyton Reed, I believe. The director of Ant-Man. He directed 2 episodes this season. The second episode, which was the scary one, and the scary spider one, and the finale, which was amazing. Where do we go? From here?
Can I mention really quickly, especially as a Canadian, how excited I was to see Paul's son Huang Lee on the show, like from Kim's Convenience.
Do you know how he got that role?
Yeah, he was actually a cosplayer, and he was such a big fan that he actually had like the costume already himself, right?
His Instagram had it all. Like, he has cosplay all over his Instagram, which is awesome. And Dave Filoni is a big fan of Kim's Convenience. So he called him up one day and he was just like, "What? You want me to be in Star Wars?" So he goes down there. So he went down there, and sorry, let me just finish this. He went down there, and they were measuring his head for a helmet, and they had a box with an actual helmet from episode 4. And he's like, "What's in there?" And he's like, "Oh, you can look at it and you try it on if you want." And he opened it up, and he saw like the Starburst logo symbols on it. And he's like, "Is that Big Dark Lighter's helmet?" I'm like, "Yeah." And he's like, so he's like, "Is that the actual one?" And they're like, "Yeah, it is. We just took it out of the archives to build yours off of." And he's like, can I try it?" So he put it on and he started crying because, as a Star Wars fan, you don't expect that, like that they kept any of this or that you could touch it. And him being such a big fan, he got to wear it. And I'm getting a little teary eyed just thinking about that, because I want that one day. One day.
Well, hopefully it's not the last we're going to see of him either.
No, based on the next season or the announced shows on Disney Plus, I think he might show up a lot, which would be awesome.
I would hope so, but we'll get to that later.
Yeah. Sorry, was there anything else you wanted to add? Sorry, Hawk.
Really quickly, apparently, I read in a tweet really quickly. Somebody will have to confirm it, but his call sign on his helmet reads Appa.
Does it? Oh, I hope it's angry Appa. I will look that up later, but that's amazing.
That would be the greatest Easter egg if they'd done that.
Oh.
Like, just that's brilliant.
On the
And
back,
again-
it just says, "Okay, see you."
And Dave Filoni got to play his X-wing pilot again as Appa's co-pilot. Oh my God, I'm just gonna call him Appa for this show because that's amazing. This series also brought to life Bo-Katan, who is one of the most important characters in the Clone Wars and Rebels cartoons. She was a Mandalorian of the Death Watch clan that actually, secured the planet with Sabine and ended up with the Darksaber at the end of the animated series, ruling Mandalore, or at least the Mandalorians. So we don't know what happened in the time between the animated series and the live action, but Moff Gideon ended up getting the Darksaber somehow. Anyway,
It sounds like he defeated her and took it from her, because it sounds like that's the way that the Darksaber is traded.
Yeah. So originally, that's how you would get the Darksabers, to win it in battle. But Sabine actually gave it to Bo-Katan at the end of the animated series. So the fact that Mando also offered it to her and she said no, I wonder if she thought because it was handed to her the last time and she got defeated by Moff Gideon, there was some sort of I want to say she didn't feel like she was actually worthy of the successor role or something like that. I wonder, what do you guys think about that?
I honestly, it's hard to speculate on. I think part of it too is that it was at least to me, it was very apparent that Gideon played them all with that, because he knew that she was there to get that saber back, and he knew that if Mando beat him for it, he would give him that saber, knowing that it would then create that rift.
Yeah.
Because if his sole goal was, I'm going to help you take back Mandalore, and now he has to be the one to do it, or she's going to have to beat him to get it.
Yeah.
He can sit back and go, well, my work here is done. You go have fun now.
Amazing.
I love the look of terror in Gideon's eyes when he saw Luke Skywalker coming in.
Yeah, 'cause
Yes.
he's probably one of the only
so
people that
cool.
actually knew about him or saw him.
Well, I think at that point, Skywalker would have been an absolute, he would have been a nightmare legend to every Imperial.
Yeah.
Because he killed Vader, he killed the Emperor.
He destroyed the
And
Death
he-
Star twice.
and
He
he-
would have been their most wanted.
And he is one of the last most prolific Jedi. So therefore, everyone would know who he is. And for an Imperial, that's not a good thing.
Yeah. He was also part of the ISB, Moff Gideon, which is the Imperial Security Branch, which is sort of like
Like
their
the secret police.
their secret
Yeah.
police. So he would definitely have been one of the higher ups already
Yeah.
during the Empire. So.
He knew Mando's real name.
Yeah. Well, that's what happens when you have the CIA of space.
Well, that was the other thing I thought was kind of interesting, was the fact that at some point in time, those computers recognized who he was.
Mm-hmm.
So
Maybe.
when he did that,
When he
it was
scanned
the-
his head, right?
Yeah, the facial scan.
The facial scan, and it immediately recognized him. It wasn't like an alert. It was, we know who this face is.
I don't know.
Or was it just that there were no warrants? I don't know. That I was confused about that.
Yeah.
I think I imagine he probably collected his name from some sort of a refugee ledger or something like that, in many of the invasions of these planets and that. So I don't necessarily think they would have had his face on record in that, but definitely some sort of record of him.
I don't know. That's just for me. That kind of made me kind of raise my eyebrows. Has he worked with the Empire at some point? Which is also possible that he did. Boba did it. It's not uncommon for Mandalorians to work for Imperials.
I thought that
Depending
Bo-Katan said that they're not really. But anyway, it's something
know.
that we have to figure out.
I think that's going to be an Easter egg that may show up in the future. I hope it is, because that's kind of a cool little bit of plot setup.
For sure. There is one person that we have not talked about, and it's a really important person that only showed up for one episode, which made me sad. But it was an amazing episode. And
She's getting her own show.
she is getting her own show, so I guess that's okay. We ended up getting... Wait, which episode was this? The Jedi. Episode 13, which is number 5. Directed by Dave Filoni, written by Dave Filoni. And that was the episode that introduced us to Ahsoka Tano. Played by Rosario Dawson. And she's my favorite character. This is my Ahsoka that I keep on my desk. And I don't know what you it was perfect for me. For me as an Ahsoka fan, seeing her in live action, the way she was acted by Rosario, and I was sitting there like this. If this isn't a backdoor pilot to a show, I don't know what is. And all the nods to and it was, and all the nods to Kurosawa, like Dave Filoni, like hit it on the nail. What did you guys think of this episode and Ahsoka in general?
I thought they did it. They did everything again. That's part of my fan service done right. Is they took a beloved character, they translated it properly. They did the same thing with Bo-Katan as well too.
Oh yeah,
took a beloved character, translated it over properly and impressively, to the point where it's like, hey, here's your live action pilot. There you go. And there's nothing wrong with that.
No.
Because it didn't feel like she was just there to get an audience reaction, like that she had like significant story arc.
Ooh, yeah. So what I loved about it is when Mando asks her to train him, and she's like, he's too attached to you. I've seen this happen before, and it went badly. And just hearing her say that, and everyone who watches the anime show is like, oh my God, Darth Vader. She's talking about Darth Vader. It's just like it's beautiful. Like it's wonderfully written. Dave Filoni, man, God, yeah.
How about the fact that instead of kind of teasing us with it in the first 30 seconds of action on the screen, she's there. And just it was such a beautiful sequence, and that her moving like a wraith and that through that forest and that taking down one guy after another.
I love that she kept on turning it on and off and
disappearing into the mist. Like it was incredible to watch.
It gives you a little bit of foreshadowing too about what kind of damage a Jedi can do. Right? Like we all know as Star Wars fans, but just sort of reminded us that we got to see that again in the last episode with Luke.
Yeah.
But she was able to take out that whole army of soldiers right there on her own.
It's funny because people are sitting there like, why isn't the Dark Troopers? Why aren't all the soldiers Dark Troopers now? And you see a Jedi just tear through them. Like they might be bad for Mando and that crew of people, but you send a Jedi in there, and it's just like, that's why they got replaced by clones, man.
Well, and there aren't that many Jedi anymore, right?
Yeah.
So maybe they're thinking that
there might be, right? There's Cal still around. Ahsoka, there's Luke. I can't remember who else is. Maybe
Yoda's
Mace
still
Windu. No, Yoda's dead, man. Yoda dead.
Yeah.
This is after.
Become one at this point.
Yeah. Yoda's gone.
But, any other thoughts on Ahsoka? I know you watched the animated shows.
I was just super excited. So excited to see the live action. Like I agree with Matt 100%. They did it right. And I felt respected as a fan watching that and most of the episodes of this season.
And the one thing that I was the most impressed about, and I think we talked about this, the one thing that I was concerned about going into it was, with all the prosthesis that was needed there to make the character translate, it didn't look dumb.
Yeah, like
because that's one. Yeah, like with her whole head tails and all that, it's very easy for something like that to go horribly awry when you're trying to translate it over into reality.
Especially if you're moving that fast and doing all that choreo, right? You don't want those tendrils like hitting you in the face the whole time.
Yeah.
Sure.
I know at the end of Rebels, you saw it, the tendrils and all the everything a lot longer, and there was a big hubbub on the internet about the length of it and. I thought it was fine. It translated fine. I thought it was fine.
From a practical point of view, it would not have helped any of the actors in that. Like one bad swing in that, and they probably would have spent the rest of the day just trying to repair a massive headpiece.
Yeah. Could you imagine? And I love that they made it all practical. Like again.
Yeah.
Fantastic.
But it looked right. It didn't look goofy. It didn't look dumb. They went practical with it, which I have imminent respect for, because they could have just tried to CGI it and it would have looked okay.
Yeah.
It would have looked weird. It would have looked off.
Yeah. One other thing in terms of Ahsoka, Dave Filoni had a little interview after that episode aired, and people were asking him, well, is this right after the Rebels epilogue where we see her teaming up with Sabine to look for Ezra and Thrawn? And he's like, you know what? The great thing about The Mandalorian is you don't know when that took place. And I'm like, you son of a bitch. Because she doesn't have her staff in the TV show. But in this episode, we do hear her talk to that head Imperial and ask where Thrawn is. So she is on the search for him, and we know that he's not just in the lost regions anymore. She's actually just looking for him around the Outer Rim.
Yeah.
So.
And that's going to be part of that spin-off show. Like Thrawn's not going to appear in the Mandalorian, right?
No.
It's going to be more of a.
Well, he might. We don't know.
Yeah,
I guess if the universe is all, they'll collide
Yeah.
in different ways, right?
No, it's going to be like Marvel. Where everything just ends up being a giant cluster episode with amazingness.
All of this is being basically kind of overseen by the same people. So there's all that potential.
Nice to have a plan.
Isn't it nice to have Dave and Jon Favreau making this universe, sort of like how John did with the MCU?
Yeah, it's weird how people that actually care about the property they're in charge of and care about doing things that are not only good for the story but for the fans, it works out in ways that just don't make sense, that people are always happy at the end of it. Fucking interesting, that.
Oh my god. Any other final things before we go to the epilogue of the season? Any final thoughts on the season? I thought it was wonderful. I think they elevated past the first season, which was something I didn't know if they could do, and they did it in spades and made me happier as a Star Wars fan. Who knew that was possible?
They blew up the Razor Crest. I was surprised.
I was surprised about that, but then we got to see him we got to see the inside of Slave One and it moving in the gyro, which was so cool.
Do we think that we're going to get a new Razor Crest? Like, what's Mando going to use in season 3? Is he going to get a new
Slave 2?
ship, or
I don't know.
Slave 2?
That wouldn't be great.
I assume
Electric Boogaloo.
You know what? I assume Mando's going to be on that light cruiser with Bo-Katan.
So he's not going to have his own ship, at least not for this next season.
He could always get Bo-Katan's ship, right? She has
she
has her own ship. Oh, that would be awesome. I love that.
Just
ship.
the thing with the Razor Crest is it became a bit of a like when you go and you can find toys in the store, like Legos and everything that were of the Razor Crest. Like, it became its own sort of brand, its own identity as part of the show, along with the child.
Yeah,
but that's,
you know.
And both of them are gone.
Yeah.
But that's not a bad thing, because again, it's one of those, like, people identify it and they enjoy it and they like it. That's fantastic. You have 2 seasons of these things to love, and moving forward. Also, the fact that the child has gone off with Luke does not mean we're never going to see the child again.
Agreed.
Yeah.
It just means that's it, because it's not the Mandalorian and the child. It's not the child. It's the Mandalorian. It's his story. This was a big chapter of that. However,
he had 2 seasons of babysitting, and he's going to try something else for a little bit.
Yeah, we didn't talk about the mask thing. We should do
This is why it was so important for them to blow up the Razor Crest in that scene and that, because as Shaw said, it's recognizable. It's, no pun intended. It's a very recognizable vehicle in that. So the fact that they're willing to let that go, it reminded me of
Optimus Prime dying.
No, season 3 of Breaking Bad, when they got rid of the van.
Oh yeah.
Because the van became very emblematic of the show in that, and it's like almost, and things like that can tend to sometimes be a crutch and not allow a show to move forward in story.
Yeah. There is one thing I want to talk about before we get to the epilogue, and it's the theme of Mando finding out more about his upbringing and the cult. I'm going to air quotes that he came out. He's a child of the Death Watch, which was a very strict sect of the Mandalorians, where they believed
this is the way.
Yeah,
the
where they
way.
believed in the rules of Mandalore the Great, who was an old warrior who never took off his helmet and was more of a warlike ruler. But as soon as he met Bo-Katan and she took off her helmet, she started, I think, throughout the season, he ended up learning more about himself and how he wasn't just strictly tied to that as a Mandalorian. Like, he had to live the ideas and not just have to follow the strict dogma. And there was a scene at the end of the finale where he ended up taking off his helmet, which mirrored Darth Vader taking off his helmet. And both Grogu and the Mando got to, really see each other for the first time. And there's a touching moment where Grogu touches his face, and I'm sitting there bawling on my couch by myself. And it's a poignant moment. What do you guys think of this whole this arc towards him being able to just take off his helmet for someone he really cared about?
The whole season has been like developing not him as a human, as a human being, as a character, and that this was like a natural progression of that. He learns, he learned through caring for this child that he's more than just like a tool for violence. Stuck to a slavish old way.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. No, that's just it. It's making him a character that is it's adding dimensions to him, adding layers. Which also again makes it like I want to see where he's going to go from here, because they could change the way of the Mandalorians if they so see fit. They can amalgamate all the parts to bring them together. There's so much potential for it, but again, he's going to be a catalyst to that, which is awesome to watch.
Shows?
I think they already did. Like I think the actor himself. What's his name? Pedro Pascal. Yeah, I think he did a fantastic job of bringing the character to life, even without being able to see his face for like 99% of the show. Mm-hmm. Like he was able to emote certain emotions like throughout the way he acted, in a way that I didn't expect, because there was definitely a lot of, okay, how can he show us that he's like how he's feeling towards Grogu, or how like when he gets angry, but he was doing a good job with that. And then I think to be able to open him up and provide facial expressions and things, I think it'll add another layer to that character, which is going to be great.
Yeah. And the most important thing before we talk about the epilogue is, what did everyone think of this season's favorite swear word, Dank Ferrick? Which happened like every other episode.
Do you have that tattooed, Eric?
Not yet. But I actually use it now, which I think is humorous for me.
I love that. Again, that's the kind of cultural impact you see from stuff like this, where something becomes so iconically tied in that it enters into the lexicon of people slowly but surely. It's creating flavor for that universe as well too. Mm-hmm.
And we got to hear Cara Dune do a couple more swears in the last episode. I can't remember what they are right now.
We even got some swears in the last episode from Boba Fett and his little exchange with Bo-Katan's buddy. Yeah.
I was gonna say Sasha.
Yeah, that's her name. Sasha Banks was the actress.
I can't remember her name.
Yeah, no. Anyways, yeah, they sounded
Costco Reeves. Yeah, sorry, Hawk.
Anyways, I got nothing more. Dank Ferrick.
Dank Ferrick.
Dank Ferrick.
It's like when Battlestar had their swears, and that just went everywhere. No one does that anymore, but
it's definitely an upgrade from Poodoo.
Oh, and McClunky.
Banta Poodoo.
Although we hear McClunky once,
I heard McClunky in the last episode.
Maybe slightly upset, but whatever.
Oh, you know that they did that just like that's the deep cut for fans. Again, it's those little things where it's like, there you go.
Yes, son of a. Anyway, so the credits roll and everyone's sad and crying because Luke Skywalker was amazing, and Grogu's now gone off with him, and R2-D2 shows up, and it's not just stupid BB-8. Anyway, we get a post-credit scene like they did in the first season, and we see Jabba's palace, and Bib Fortuna is now sitting in opulence on the throne and gained a couple pounds because he's the leader now.
That's what new Jabba.
That's what you do. You sit down, you eat a little bit, and you have your dancers do things. And you see Fennec end up going down the stairs and just wiping out people, and Boba Fett joins them. And Boba Fett goes there, and Bib Fortuna's like, "Hey, what's up?" Boba Fett kills him, takes over the throne. Post-credit title coming December 2021, The Book of Boba Fett.
Boba Fett.
Yeah.
I'm getting goosebumps just thinking about that right now. And there was a lot of talk about whether this was season 3 of The Mandalorian or its own show. And today, Star Wars confirmed that this is its own show, taking place at the same time as Mandalorian 3.
They really want to make sure you're getting your money's worth for that Disney Plus subscription.
Yeah.
Why not? That to me was, hey, all you fans of Tales from Jabba's Palace and Tales of the Bounty Hunters, here you go. Mm-hmm. And I am here for that. Nothing is making me happier than we now get Boba Fett doing dark, shady criminal stuff.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
But he also seems bound by an honor code. Like you see that in the episode where he says, I'm going to help you get back the child. Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
So he's kind of like would that be chaotic good?
Well, he is still a Mandalorian. Like he's still going to follow a variant of that code.
Mm-hmm.
He may find loopholes in it because again, he's also a clone and was probably taught Django's version of that. Yeah. But at the end of the day, he still has the whatever code he follows.
Yeah.
How great was that? The episode was titled "The Tragedy." As soon as I saw that go across the screen, I thought, "Oh no!"
Do you think this is what I assume is going to happen in the first episode of the Book of Boba Fett? And correct me or tell me I'm wrong. It's going to start off with we're going to see some sand, and we're going to see Boba Fett in Slave One, and then we're going to see the Sarlacc, and we're just going to see him blow the shit out of it.
I do actually sincerely hope that we do get that Boba Fett Dengar storyline somewhere in there.
Yeah. How they
just so like how he got out, how he got helped. Just because it's easiest way to start that story.
Oh, you think I'm dead? I'm not. I'm Boba Fett. Yeah. Robot Chicken did a wonderful thing. If you haven't checked it out, do it.
Do you remember the first episode of the season where they're talking about how that was the crate dragon, right?
Yeah.
That was living inside the Sarlacc nest. Yeah. And he said, well, how does it go into the Sarlacc? Like, how does it live in the Sarlacc nest? And he goes, well, if he ate the Sarlacc. And so when I heard that, I thought maybe that's how Boba Fett got out, because maybe the dragon actually killed the Sarlacc and Boba Fett escaped that way.
I never thought about that. That's awesome. I do love that the first episode went from 2 different screen ratios just to show how big the crate dragon was. Sorry, that was the second.
Yes. Yeah.
That's a wonderful nerdy thing.
It was.
Hawk, any final thoughts on the Book of Boba Fett? I know you stepped away for a sec.
I don't even want to guess at this point. I just want to be surprised.
Mm-hmm. We got 12 months, and then we get to watch it. And hopefully December 2021 is very different from December 2020.
Speaking of 2021, Disney a week ago, I think.
About a week ago, yeah.
Decided to have not their investor call, but it was part of their investor call, where they announced 52 new things across their properties. 52.
Disney's new 52.
Yeah. Oh my God, I didn't even think about that.
They walk in, all right, interns. Everybody write something down on a sticky note. That's going to be a new show.
Oh my God, could you?
We got this. Suck it, HBO Max.
So Marvel's amazing news, but we'll talk about that in another show.
That's going to be a whole other episode.
Because WandaVision is coming out soon, and we're going to have to talk about that. Anyway.
Oh yeah.
Whew. And all the Spider-Man news. Oh my God, we haven't talked about Spider-Man.
We're going to cover all that later.
Yeah, we'll do that.
Yeah, we need to do a Marvel episode.
Oh, yes.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
So Disney Plus series that have been announced. Okay, I'm gonna take a drink. Hold on, because it's gonna be long.
Take a deep breath. I would like these alphabetical.
Or do you want to go? No, God, no. Do you want to go one by one, or do you just want to? Do you want me to just go through all of them?
Go through all of them.
Okay, so for Disney Plus series, we are getting 2 shows set in the Mandalorian. I guess 3 now that we have Boba Fett. 2 shows, Rangers of the New Republic and Ahsoka. Then we're going to get an animated The Bad Batch series that's a sequel to the Clone Wars. Then we're going to have Star Wars Andor, which is the Rogue One prequel starring Diego Luna. Then we have another live-action show called The Acolyte, which is helmed by Russian doll creator Leslie Headland, and this is set in the High Republic era of the franchise. Then we got the title card for Obi-Wan Kenobi and the announcement that Hayden Christensen is returning as Darth Vader. Then we got A Droid Story, which is a new project for Disney Plus, which will feature new stories alongside R2-D2 and C-3PO. Which, I don't know if it's live action or animated. I think it's animated.
Sounds like it's animated, yeah.
Then we have another
live for the kiddos.
Then we have another live action event series called Star Wars Lando, which I hope will feature Donald Glover. I assume it is. They didn't announce anything.
They have to.
Then
or
the last
Williams or both.
Yeah, that would be amazing. It would be like Young and Joe's adventure, where old Lando is talking about his adventures, and then that would be amazing. And then I think one of my favorite announcements for the Disney Plus series is Star Wars Visions, which is an anime anthology series that is all like Japanese creators doing their own take of Star Wars.
Yeah.
Can I say, like, the one outlier that I'm most focused on is the Acolyte, because what it wants to do is it take us into the perspective of the emergence of the dark side at the end of the High Republic, and that I'm a little wary. I know, everybody's, read the news and that with Kathleen Kennedy and her hires and that, I haven't really bothered watching Russian Doll. I tried the first episode. I wasn't that into it. And that
entertaining.
So. Yeah, it's the story concept really intrigues me for a series, and that
it's Groundhog Day.
Yeah,
yeah, basically.
But funnier. No, that's a lie. But different. There we go. There you go. Sorry, there's two movies that were announced as well. I might as well just say it. Patty Jenkins, who's the director of Wonder Woman 1984 and Wonder Woman, announced her next movie, which is coming out in 2023, and it is Rogue Squadron. And then there's also the untitled Taika Waititi Star Wars movie, which they have also announced officially now.
Yes.
Yeah, that's a lot.
So they've got a few things coming out.
Yeah. Just basing it off Mandalorian, Rangers of the New Republic, I assume, is about Cara Dune and maybe Appa going on adventures.
Mm-hmm.
I would
imagine.
Yeah, something about the these X-wing fighters that have to go and try to keep order in the and various Republic soldiers and stuff.
And then their X-wings merge together to become a big X-wing.
Voltron X-wing.
When I heard the news, me and Chelsea were talking. I was like, "This sounds like a Power Rangers show." I hope it's a Power Rangers type show.
Somebody made a Power Rangers opening.
I know. And then you sent that to me right after. I was like, God damn it. Everyone was thinking it. And Ahsoka is about the search for, I assume,
Thrall.
Thrawn. And what's his name from? Ezra. When I say Enzo, that's
Bridger. I don't know.
Enzo is a reboot.
Reboot.
The internet has gone
crossover between reboot and Star Wars.
The internet also went crazy when the Ahsoka TV series was announced because everyone's like, "Get Benedict Cumberbatch to play Thrawn. Just do it. He's already part of the Disney family. Just get him in there." I was like, "That's fine. I would be down with that."
I still want Richard E. Grant. I don't give a shit.
Richard E. Grant would be good, but he's already been in Star Wars, and
he was in the last movie of the last trilogy. No one cares. Just get him to play Thrawn.
He would be good, though.
He is Thrawn.
He should have been Thrawn in that last movie.
Thrawn with pink skin. Just give me Thrawn.
Anything else you guys are excited for this list? I'm super excited for Hayden Christensen coming back for Obi-Wan. I like Hayden Christensen.
That'll be cool.
I hope he
wondering if we're going to see cast members of Rebels and that show up in Ahsoka.
I have no doubt that we will.
Yeah. They would kind of have to at some point in time. Yeah.
Sabine has to show up somewhere.
Yeah.
What an era.
Oh my God. I was going to say, is Ewan McGregor playing?
Yes.
Yeah,
Obi-Wan?
Yeah, he is.
Okay.
I'm excited for the Obi-Wan series. I'm not excited for the fact they started shooting it in Boston of all places.
I don't understand that.
Hey, Skywalker, you think you're better than me?
Get over here.
Skywalker's wicked pissed.
I mean, there's a wretched hive of scum and villainy joke here somewhere, but I know people in Boston, and I like Boston as a city. So.
I like it too, but
I know. I just thought it was funny because it's like, we started shooting in Boston. I was like, not the city name I was going to expect to hear for the Obi-Wan series.
With the announcement of this series and Hayden Christensen, do you think we're going to be seeing Clone Wars era Hayden Christensen? Anakin? Flashbacks? You think we're going to...
likely. I mean, makes sense. Why wouldn't they?
That would make my heart so good. Does that mean we're going to see a younger Ahsoka? Maybe played by Ashley Eckstein?
Who knows?
I'm ready to forgive you, Hayden.
Here's the thing. The possibilities are endless, provided that Filoni still has control over a lot of it. If they just give it to Kennedy, it's going to get buried and no one will care. That's just fact at this point in time. She was given the Prime movie franchise and buried it. Filoni was given an offshoot cartoon that no one really cared about and has spawned all this from that because he actually cares.
Yeah, it helps that he was also under the tutelage of George Lucas and was basically like, this is how I think. And he thinks pretty much like George Lucas, but with, being able to articulate ideas better.
Yeah. Like
act better, please. Act better.
Faster, more intense. Intense. Oh my God. Any final thoughts? Well, there's that Rogue Squadron movie.
I'm actually really excited for that.
Mm-hmm.
I did
like a Top Gun in space.
Yeah, well, she said that her dad was a fighter pilot or test pilot. I can't remember which one.
He was, yeah, he would, he tested or he was a fighter pilot.
Yeah, either way.
Yeah,
he was
exactly. She used to spend her days, watching him and that go up in the air and that. I believe there was a tragedy involved with it too, and that. So this is apparently a very personal movie for her and that. And she'd been offered scripts before about doing that a jet fighter movie. She said this is the one.
Rogue Squadron is taking place after episode 9, so take that as it will.
It's the new Rogue Squadron.
Oh, okay. I was going to say, were they going to connect to any of the story from the video game that came out?
Well, that was the only concern I had for us. I think it could be really good, but are they going to just have a lot of CGI Mark Hamill?
Yeah.
But if it's new Rogue Squadron, I'm here for that because that's going past this trilogy of whatever you want to think of it and doing its own thing. Go ahead.
There was one thing I wanted to pass by you guys because I saw it all over the internet. People were talking about how because we are in this era after Return of the Jedi and Luke Skywalker should, in all honesty, show up a little bit more. I guess if it's interconnected with the dealings of the universe and him being so important, people are like, instead of doing CGI, like it was nice that one time, why don't you just cast Sebastian Stan as Luke Skywalker?
Do you think, because when I first saw Luke appear on the bridge and that, I got a serious Sebastian Stan vibe from it and that, and it almost felt a little intentional.
It's tricky because it's if they start going into the realm of recasting, because just like you said, I mean, if they're going to have Luke show up more because it's involving the politics of the universe, they would also need Leia because she runs the New Republic.
Yeah.
Realistically, somewhere along the lines, especially with the Book of Boba Fett, Han Solo's probably going to show up somewhere in there, but these are characters that are so iconic that you can't start recasting now.
They didn't do so well with the young Solo, right?
Yeah.
They tried that, and it kind of backfired on them.
Well, I mean, that was kind of bound to happen anyways, just because of the nature of it, because it's not Harrison Ford.
I had also read that there were concerns, too, that Sebastian Stan is so connected with the Falcon and Winter Soldier project that it would be difficult to have him doing the Star Wars stuff as well.
It's true, because he basically, the time off that he would have from Falcon Winter Soldier would then be, cool, I'm going to go shoot Obi-Wan now.
He's just like Disney, just keep on dropping off that truck of money at my house.
It's I appreciate these dump trucks full of money, but I'd like to be able to sleep on it at some point in time.
They just have to get out of that, what's it called, the uncanny valley. They're getting closer, but it's still, even seeing the Luke that they created for that episode, you knew it was almost there. It was almost there.
It's the deep fakes that they should start going into, right? Because those are the closest that I've seen.
That's basically what they've been doing at this
Except
point.
they're actually animating it still, which
A
is
little.
They got to use that AI and make it, because someone replaced. They redid Tron Legacy with deep fakes, and it looks so good, and it makes me so sad because I love that movie, and seeing it even better makes me sad. Anyway.
Yeah. And as far as recasting and that, if it's done right, it can work in that. I mean, people, I think a lot of people were probably up in arms than that when they were, Star Trek was recasting the entire original cast.
That's true.
That's true. If they can do this right, and
if it has the proper feel in the right hands, I think it could work.
I don't see. For me, it's difficult, especially because mostly you're recasting because the actors have aged out of the time frame that you're in, or sadly have passed, and then it becomes that fine line of how much of it is honoring their memory versus just trying to get someone there to get them. Because realistically, if you are trying to craft these stories that are so reliant on these characters being there, then you're not creating new material. You're just filling in blanks with characters that everyone loves already. And I would always say, if you have a good enough story, you don't need to have them there, aside from having Luke show up for a quick cameo or having a message from Leia somewhere. You have to rely on these characters to show up constantly enough that you need to recast.
Yeah.
There's a problem.
Yeah. Well, you know what? Let's throw that out to our listeners. What do you think about having the original series characters come back onto a show like Mandalorians or anything set in the Mandalorian time era? Why don't you send us a note? All of that information is in the post call. You can also contact us on all of the social medias. We are everywhere. Thank you, Matt Moore. Thank you, Hawk. Thank you, Shows, for coming on, talking about Star Wars. And thank you, Shows, for dressing up for this episode. I should have put on a bathrobe just so I could fully get in the feel of it.
I grew my Obi-Wan beard just for this episode.
I grew my dirty
Nice.
stash just because I'm lazy. Yeah, thank you for talking about Star Wars with me. It's wonderful. This season has been so good. It's always a blast talking to you guys about all of these things. We still got to talk about our 2021 or 2020 episode. We will be back next year, which is really only 2 weeks away.
We've almost made it through 2020. We've almost made it.
Yeah.
Crawling to
We're
the
just-
end finish line.
We're just crawling like Anakin Skywalker on the beach.
I hate you.
Wait, weren't we supposed to be getting superpowers tonight too? Wasn't that the thing?
Yeah, I heard there was a thing about that.
Yeah, the alignment, right?
Yeah, the conjunction.
I'm gonna go outside and try and fly off the, not my roof. I meant off
I was
the
like,
ground.
yeah, it's like float, say float. I'm gonna go try to fly off my. Just don't end that sentence, dude. This is gonna.
Anyway,
We're gonna get reported.
thank you guys for.
How lame would it be if we all got superpowers and it only lasted like 30 seconds?
Oh, and we were here when it was happening.
I can just grow my fingernails really long.
They're just slightly faster. Oh, thank you guys for coming on and talking about Star Wars. Thank you all for coming and listening to us. We shall talk to you guys soon. Goodbye.
Bye-bye.
Bye.
Well, that's it for us this week on Geeks with Kids. If you want to get a hold of us, you can send us an email at podcast@geekswithkids.ca. And don't forget to like us on Facebook at facebook.com/geekswithkids. Follow us on Twitter at geekswithkidstn. Check out our pics on Instagram at geekswithkids. And you can find all of this good stuff on our website at www.geekswithkids.ca. So if you like what you hear, why don't you hit that subscribe button and leave us a comment. This podcast can be found on iTunes, Spotify, Google Play, Stitcher, YouTube, and your favorite podcasting app. Thanks again for listening, and we'll see you next time.